From this video onwards and in the next few videos, we will clarify the concept of function in the context of Java program. Now, function is a very important concept in any programming language. If you design the functions properly, it can save you hundreds of lines of codes in your software design. So, try to learn this function with extra care. So, in order to clarify the concept of function, let us consider a real world example that is shown in the right hand side of the slide in here. Let us assume that you are Alice. Now, you got two different numbers, 5 and 4.5, to add. And let us assume that you really do not know how to add those two numbers. So what are the options? Suddenly you remember that, well, your friend Bob actually knows how to add two numbers. So what you can do? What you can do is you can simply call Bob and then send those two numbers 5 and 4.5 to Bob. So let's make a call to Bob and you call that, well, Bob, please add this 5 and 4.5. So you call Bob and told Bob that, well, Bob, please add 5 and 4.5. Now, what happened in the Bob side? Let us see that. So after your call, Bob actually got two different numbers from you, that is 5 and 4.5. Now, since Bob knows how to add two numbers, Bob calculated the result by adding 5 plus 4.5 equals 9.5. And after calculating the result, Bob just returned back the result to you. So now it is done with the Bob's part. So Bob calculated the result, and not only that, Bob returned back the result to you. So in summary, what happened? You got two different numbers and you call Bob and just pass the entire responsibility of adding two numbers to Bob. And what Bob did, Bob got two numbers from you. Bob calculated the result and then returned the result back to you again. So this thing happens exactly in the context of programming also through a function. So let us try to clarify what happened in a program. The block diagram shown in the left hand side of the slide can explain the fact in the context of program. So what happened is, let us say you have a Java program which is executing through this path like this. Now in this Java program, it is executing through this path like instruction 1, then instruction 2, and in this way. Now suddenly it encounters a function call in the program, like just like the fact that Alice called Bob, that, well, Bob, please add two numbers. So suddenly the program got something called a function call in the program. The function, let us say, defined at some label denoted by label 1. Now this label 1 can be, let's say, line number 40 or something like that. All right. So whenever the program encounters the function call, instead of going through the normal sequence of execution, the program immediately take a detour and go directly to that place of the program where the function is defined. In our case, it is somewhere in line number 40 or somewhere. Now, when after taking the detour, it starts executing the function. After going to the place where the function is defined, it just entered inside that function. Let us say this is your entire function, this instruction 40 and instruction 41. So the program, after taking the detour, went inside the function and starts executing the function. So it executes instruction 40, then instruction 41, and then the function execution is complete. That is similar to the fact like Bob is done with the addition. Now what Bob did? Bob returned back the result to Alice again. So that means right after the function call, right after the function execution is done, is finished, the program again come back to its normal sequence of execution, that is here. And from here onwards, again it starts executing following the normal sequences. So just in summary, the Java program is executing through this path. Suddenly it got a function call over here like Bob please add two numbers, and now whenever it got the function call, instead of the normal sequence of the program, it took a detour and directly go to the place where the function is defined, and after that it entered inside the function, it execute the entire function, and after finishing execution of the entire function, it returned back to the normal program with the result of the function. So that is what happened when a function is called in a Java program. Now this code in here in the middle is a pseudo code which matches almost to the Java syntax. So let us see what happens in here. So let us say this is your Java program, and your Java program starts executing somewhere from here, and let us say there is your main function is here somewhere. Let's say this is public static void and then main over here, and from here onwards your code is executing. So there are instruction 1, instruction 2, instruction 3, like this way. Now after execution of several instruction, suddenly your Java program found that, well, there is a function call, that is Bob please add, and then you want to pass two numbers, that is 5 and 4.5. Now whenever the Java compiler found that, well, there is a call to the function, that is Bob please add, and these two numbers, it automatically understood that somewhere in the program at some line this Bob please add is already defined. So it starts searching, and it found that, well, in this line Bob please add is defined somewhere here in the program. So whenever the function is called like this Bob please add 5 4 point with the two parameters, the program automatically goes to this part of this code, and it goes inside this function. Now inside this function, what is happening? You pass 5 and 4.5. Now inside this function, it represents those two numbers as n1. 5 is represented as n1, and this 4.5 is represented as n2. Of course, you have to use the data types. 5 is an integer and 4.5 has a decimal point, so it is double. So anyway, inside the function, it has its own representation for n1 and n2. Just like the fact that let's say Bob is inside Bob's memory 5 is represented as n1 and 4.5 is represented as n2, something like this. So now after getting these two numbers, what do you need to do? You have to calculate the result, that is the sum of those two numbers. So you calculated the sum over here, the function calculated the sum of this n1 and n2 and then store it inside the result. Just like Bob finished calculating the result in here. Right after that, what Bob did, Bob returned back the result to Alice, right? So to mimic that fact in Java program, you have to use this keyword called return then the result. Whenever the program encounter this return result, whenever the program encountered this line, from here the program understood that, well, it's time to go back again to the normal sequence of the program, or it's time to go back to Alice again. So it just returned the program control to this place. So here is the function call, and whenever the function is called, you passed two different numbers. That is what is the motivation of that call. Then inside this function, the result is calculated and then the result is returned back to the original place. So that's what happened in a function call. And now in the next video, I'm going to clarify the concept more clearly with a simple Java demo program.